Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Dearborn partner webinar today. Today, our topic is Successful Marketing Strategies, Part 2. So Part 2, Building Relationships. And our guest again today is none other than Sarah Scobey, who is our Real Estate Senior Marketing Manager at Kaplan. Sarah and I work together just about every single day, and we are lucky to have her. Sarah, welcome.
Hey, everybody. Thank you.
Now, if you haven't seen part 1, it is available on video. It's recorded. And if you look at the bottom of this title slide, you're going to see down there, missed part 1. There's the address there. I think, look at Sarah Scobey.
I just put it in the chat. Yep.
Got it. So Sarah just dropped it in the chat. You guys can click on that, copy that. That'll take you to part 1 if you missed it, or if you want to be able to share it with your staff. So we are going to do part 2, which is about building relationships. And so here's how it's going to go, everybody. If you're new to this, we go really fast. This topic, we're going to cover at about a 10,000 foot level, and we're going to cover a bunch of topics. Each one of those topics could be a webinar in itself, a half an hour, really could be an all-day learning session. But we're going to get some really good nuggets out of this. We're going to really kind of understand a couple things better than you have when you came into this. And Sarah, here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to just kind of turn it over to you, and I'm going to play the part of really our listeners. And listeners, you get to also throw in on the chat. Send your questions in. Chris Robinson here. I think a lot of you know who Chris Robinson is. He's the moderator for today. He'll answer some questions you have. And Sarah and I will also be able to answer some of those questions as we go. But once again, this is going to be pretty fast. It's going to be pretty furious. You're going to get a lot of information. It should spur on a lot of different questions in your minds about how you want to actually engage in relationship building within your industry, and what are the different strategies that can be employed. So without further ado, let's go ahead, Sarah. Let's jump in.
Thanks, Toby, and welcome. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We are going to kick things off with a poll question. These are some of the channels that I'm going to talk about, as Toby said, at a very, very high level. So we could spend all day on some of them. But today, which of these channels are you utilizing, if any? You can choose all that you're using today, and Toby's going to kick off the poll question so you guys can answer.
It's coming right up right now. All right. So here's the poll question. Everybody, which of these marketing channels are you utilizing today? Webinars. Look at this. This is marketing for Dearborn, right? We're trying to make sure we're connecting with you. You're our partners. Are you guys doing any webinars? Trade show events. Are you going to local trade shows, events, places where decision makers, business leaders in the real estate industry are gathering? Are you doing any of that? Broker reimbursement or other partnerships, scholarship programs, partnerships with brokerages in your area or in your state? Direct mail. How many of you are still sending direct mail? And you can answer multiple questions here. If you do 7 of them, you put them all in. How many of you are doing email marketing? And then organic social media, right? Everybody's, social media. Some people do it brilliantly and some people struggle. We're going to talk about all of these things at some point today. So again, broker reimbursement, Diana Holmes is on in the chat. Go ahead and click on the buttons for the poll question. All right, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and close it down in 5, 4. Once again, everybody, these are anonymous. Just so you know, nobody else can see you and what you answered. It's all anonymous, and I will post the results so everybody kind of gets to see how everybody's playing along here. All right, look at that. Wow, it's a pretty good spread.
Yeah, that's great to see.
Yeah, let's do this. I'm going to end it. I'm going to share the results. Hopefully, everybody can see that. Webinars, right? Only like 6% of the people are doing webinars. I get that. They're not easy. You got to plan them. You got to send out an invite. You got to get people to show up. I kind of get that. Trade show events. There's some money involved in trade show events. You got to pay to get a booth. Only about 3% of the people do trade shows and events. Broker reimbursement or other partnerships. Look at that. Almost 24% are doing that sort of a program. That's excellent. Direct mail. I tell you what, 5 years ago, if we would ask this question, it probably would have been 50% of the people were doing direct mail. It's only almost 9%. Look at that. Email marketing, 29%. Very good. Right on. And then organic social media, almost the same, 29% for organic and social media. All right, let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and close this poll. And Sarah, take it away.
Okay. Well, that's great. It's great to see you have some well-rounded multi-channel approaches, it looks like, from many of you. So we're going to kind of take a step back. We're going to start with the basics. Is anyone, and I know this might be hard to see, and you can just do it in the chat quickly, familiar with the marketing funnel? This is just kind of how we as marketers kind of look at how a prospect would become a prospect to a purchaser. And sometimes there's 4, sometimes there's 5 or 6. Anyone
but the idea is somebody doesn't just come and buy. I mean, there's a certain amount of things that have to happen to percolate to get them all the way down.
Yeah. Right? When we think about the funnel, think about when you're buying a car, for instance. You're not going to go to a car lot and pick a car and say, I want that one. You're going to maybe look online first. You might ask friends or family. You might see if there's any promotions going on. You might go to a couple different car lots, see what's available, then test drive a car, and then finally you're going to make a purchase likely. This is the same journey that your students are going to go through as well. And on average, it takes customers 5 and 8 of these contact moments before a purchase is made. So kind of use the marketing funnel and the multi-channel marketing approach to guide those moments from your prospect, from just exploring your school to then purchasing your education through your school. So it's really important to think about not just investing in 1 or 2 marketing channels, but looking at it holistically across multiple channels.
Yeah, I think the fallacy is everybody thinks I'm going to do this one promotion and people are going to buy everything, right? Like I'm going to do this, and that's not it. You have to have multiple touch points, multiple moments, delivering the information they want when they need it, right? I mean, to keep
and how they want to engage with it. So it's not only doing your promotion through email. You need to think about through email and on your website and through multi-channel so they can absorb it in different ways.
Got it. Okay.
So let's take a step back. Let's talk about, I don't know, if your school is much like, I'm going to say Kaplan, our B2C business, we get a lot of referral from brokers. So it's really important to think about building relationships with local brokers. And I put together a few ideas of things that we've tried and things that you can consider to help build those relationships. So first, if local brokers in your area offer open houses or meet and greets or informational sessions, reach out to them and see if you can partner with them in some way.
We call these people, right? Sarah, sorry to interrupt, but we call your local brokers decision makers, right? Because they are actively recruiting people into the industry all day long. I think most of the people on here are going to understand this. They're recruiting people into the industry, and the first question that new recruit says, is, as soon as they shake the hand, yeah, I'm coming on board. I love it. What do I got to do, right? And then the broker says, well, you got to get your education. It's the first bit of coaching and mentoring that broker does for that new recruit, and so being in that decision maker, and the decision maker here isn't the student, it's the broker. It's the first bit of coaching is that you go here to get your education, right? That's really what we're talking about here is how do you connect and build relationships with decision makers who are telling people where to go to get their education.
Yep. And if you know brokers that are offering these sorts of events, see if you can partner with them to come talk to the students. Don't make it a hard sell just for your school, but set yourself up as an expert. Talk about how you can get your licensing education and the requirements for it. That's going to create one of those mini contact moments that student is going to need to start to build awareness with your school to kind of work down through that funnel. Opposite end, if your brokers aren't offering events, host your own. Do open houses or meet and greets with your instructors or webinars like this one that you're attending today. These are all moments that are going to set your school up as being seen as an expert to that student and start to build that relationship.
There's one thing here that I think is kind of interesting. These career nights, so to say, at a local brokerage, they used to be very popular. They're sort of making a bit of a comeback here and there. Having a role or a position to fill, because most brokers don't like to talk about licensing education. They don't like to talk about the steps, the laws, the rules, the difficulty of the exam. In fact, I can tell you this, some of the clever educators out there are creating a little video that those brokers can just play at their career nights too. You don't have to actually be there, but your name, your brand can be there for them. If it's very clear, concise, little 2-minute video, little 3-minute video, be smart about how you're leveraging yourself. And then when it comes to these individual things, I know from a position on our retail side, on Kaplan Real Estate Education, we don't recruit people into the career of real estate. They've already made that decision when they come to us. It's kind of this funny line that we've never really crossed. I know some of you do. You'll host career nights and things like that. Finding your place, your role of where you want to be in that decision-making process. But there's a space in there for once again, just reaffirming who you are and that you're here as the solution, the education provider for them. Some of you I know are probably running brokerages that do licensing education. That's a little easier for you to do this, but it's a kind of a neat spot for you to be at.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, so make it easy for either brokers or students who are coming to your website to capture a lead. Make sure you're getting their information. If you have eyeballs on your website, make it easy for them to give you their email address or their phone number. But don't forget to follow up on your leads. I have worked not at this company, but I've worked at other companies where there's just been leads that have been sitting there cold. So think about if you're capturing these leads, either calling them, it is ideal, or putting them through some sort of nurture or drip campaign to continue to warm them through that marketing funnel. Once you have that lead that's come through your website, it's really important to continue to those contact moments throughout the cycle of a prospect.
Hugely important. Don't ask for it if you're not going to respond to it. If you're not going to do it, you'll just upset people. So do it if you got a way to manage it. I can tell you, exactly. and Sarah will confirm. We've had one of these on our stuff that is broken. And so these leads just went into a black box for like a month and nothing got done. Oh my gosh, that was not good. Do not do that. So don't ask unless you're going to manage it. But if you manage it, you can start to really foster a relationship with somebody as you move them down the funnel quickly.
Exactly. All right, let's switch gears. We're going to talk about direct mail and how that can have an impact on not only brokers, but students. And I know a couple of you said that you were investing in direct mail already, and it might seem like an antiquated approach, but it really does help to do things like build your brand awareness and your school awareness. It could get you in front of a lot of brokers and students quickly. And if you don't have email addresses for a contact, you can send them a piece of mail instead. A lot of real estate commissions now will offer up their broker or agent list for either purchasing for a small fee or free of charge. Those are great options to use for your direct mail. And a lot of times they're not going to give you an email address. That's pretty coveted nowadays, right? No one wants to give up their email address, but I'll give you my mail address, my physical address, no problem. So think about when you're putting these mailings together, maybe send to your local brokers, 10, 15, either catalogs or postcards or whatever you want to put out there. So that way, when that broker does have an interested potential new agent interested in the career of real estate, they can pull the catalog, they can pull that mailing and say, here, I just got this. This is a great reputable school. Go here for your education. So it works that way with brokers, but then also you can reach out directly to students via capturing that physical address as well. We send out catalogs that have upcoming courses and schedules, and then you can be a little more cost effective as something like a postcard. It's just a smaller piece, especially if you're going to do any of those open houses or webinars. A postcard is great to reach out to the contacts on your list.
And I think what we're talking about here is really just mailing to the decision makers. So they've got the information in their hands. This is all about licensing education, obviously, right? So they got the information in their hands. When they get a recruit, somebody goes, well, okay, where do I go get my education? They go, well, go here. And they actually hand the brochure, the kit pamphlet, the postcard, the coupon, the whatever, right to that recruit. Having it on hand and being, Warren Buffett said 50% of his success was just showing up. Well, how do you make sure you just show up at the right time when that broker needs you? Make sure your information is in their hands electronically. Some like it electronically. Some still love it in print. They love it in print. So find out who they are. Very good.
And then last word on direct mail, the quality of your list is obviously important. Again, reach out to the real estate commission, see if it's available versus kind of culling or going to big databases to get lists of agents. Those tend to have a lot of bad addresses. So it's just important that you're scrubbing your list for addresses when you're thinking about direct mail. Let's talk about reimbursement programs. I was happy to see a lot of you are already doing sorts of these programs. And what I'll walk through might be different than what you are using. That's the great thing about them, is that, it's kind of up to you how you want to structure them. And these programs are really just agreements between a school and a broker. You can, partner with many or just a couple of brokers, and that broker will reimburse potential agents that are interested in the career and need their education if they go to certain schools. So again, they'll have someone in front of them and they'll say, hey, ABC Real Estate School is really great. You go here, I'm going to reimburse you for part or all, it's kind of up to them, of your education if you go through this certain school. And then it works the other way as well. You as a school, if you have an existing agreement with a broker, can send students, if they're not already working with a brokerage, for educational reimbursement. So it's nice because it works both ways when you're talking about these types of programs.
Yeah.
And
so
the benefit, just one last point on the benefit, is that the brokers set their own terms, right? It can be reimbursed for all or part. They may have to work, but it's really nice because you as a school aren't, trying to deal with a revenue share or trying to run reporting on the back end when you're working in these types of partnerships.
Very good. So what we're seeing is brokers trying to take a more active role in the cost of education, right? To starting a career, right? How do you get people in that are good, and to alleviate some of that cost, the brokerage agrees to pay for some or all of the education. Well, how do you formalize that so that it's with your school? Because not all education is created equal. Well, I think we all know that. There's good education and there's bad education, and if you can drive that value point that, listen, the education in my school is good, and here's why. It's the content is excellent. We take care of our students. We're available for questions. All the things that you're doing that you can care for their students. If you can demonstrate that and ask for it and say, listen, is it worth it for you to be able to send your recruits to somebody who is going to be thinking about them 24/7 and caring for them? Is that worth it for you? And can you create a reimbursement plan that says, in your first 2 deals, I'm going to reimburse you for the cost of the education? There's ways for those brokerages to set up what they're comfortable with on a reimbursement program, but they do it just with you. And that way you are their solution when they get a new recruit. Hey, I want to come. Where do they go? Go here. And you know what? I'm going to pay you back for the education. Out of your first 2 deals or 3 deals, let the brokerage figure that out. And you just become that partner. And then the other part that Sarah says here, I think is key, Sarah, is what about those people that come to you who don't know where they're going? As much as 50% of the people don't know where they're going yet, can you say, listen, I have a list of brokerages that will reimburse you for this education you're taking with us. Maybe you should call on these brokerages. And I think that's a kind of really interesting way to create relationships with brokerages and broker decision makers across the country. I just think it's a fantastic way to do that.
Yeah. I think key here is just making sure that a broker knows your school is top of mind. They have the information. They know you're an expert, and they're going to refer that potential that agent to your school.
Right.
So really honing these broker relationships is really important. But then let's think about kind of the other half, or however many students are not being referred by brokers. We have a poll question number 2. This is specific to emails. So, on average, how many emails is everybody? I know a lot of people said they were invested in email. Are you sending to your list? This could be to students. It could be to brokers. So if you think of one contact, how many emails is that one contact typically getting a week from your school?
All right, everybody, here's a poll question, right? You can answer one of these, I think, not multiple. So just answer one. On average, if you're doing email marketing and you got a contact list, let's say it's these decision makers, how many times a week are you touching them with information in email about your school, about your products, about everything, right? And here's the thing, This is an interesting little survey, and I know Sarah's going to take us through kind of some of the averages of what we're seeing in the industry. So go ahead and give yours, and let's see where you line up. Once again, all anonymous. All right, we're going to go in. Everybody take a shot at it, and if it's 0, put 0 in. That's okay. I mean, if you think, gosh, I'm not even averaging 1 a week, that's great. That's fine. I think there's going to be some learning going on here. So play along. We got about 5 seconds, and I'm going to close it out. 4, 3. All right, I'm going to end the poll. Interesting. So I'm going to share the results. Look at this, 0. We got about 21%. One a week. So that means you 52 a year to your contacts. 1 a week, for 40, almost 43%. 2 a week, we got about 21%. 3 a week, nobody. And 4 plus a week is almost, about 14% of the respondents. Interesting spread. Yeah. All right.
That's good. That's good to see that it's varied. I pulled in this. I thought this was an interesting statistic. HubSpot is a company that provides email and landing page services, and they have thousands of customers, and they survey them once a year to kind of get some metrics across the board. And they found recently that 35% of the marketers send 3 to 5 emails per week to their customers. I would caution against sending 4 to 5 emails per week if you're sending it to the same contact. I would say if you're getting good results, that's great. Like if you're still getting lots of engagement, it opens and clicks, by all means, you consider that. But I imagine if you're sending 4 or 5 emails a week, that you probably have a higher opt-out rate, probably higher than you can get new to file names. So I would caution against staying on those 2, 1, 2, 3 emails per week.
I saw this, Sarah. I saw this when we were going through it, and I opened up my email, and I'm looking at like all the people I regularly do business with, and I'm thinking 3 to 5 a week? That's crazy. But it's true. I'm getting 3 to 5 a week from some of these players in here. I'm just looking at my phone now, and I'm going through this, and I don't mind it. Because some of it is, if it's the right header, I'll click into it if it's something I'm interested in. Otherwise, I just kind of blaze over it. So I'm imagining subject line is important. I'm imagining you've got to have something of value that they think is because that's what I'm like. Believe me, there's plenty that I'm like I'm out. But the ones that I find that I might find value in this, I leave. And my brain just kind of siphons through it until I need it. Is that what's happening here?
And I think it also depends on the type of emails you're getting, which I'll get into in a second. Okay. So when you're thinking about emails, first of all, yes, test all of your emails, test your creative, your subject line, as Toby has said, and that's actually kind of a sneak peek at the quick tip here. The subject line is the most important part of any email. If you are not getting people to open your emails, then it doesn't matter what you put inside them. Test the day of the week. So again, that same poll found that Friday has the highest click-through rates of any day of the week. And I know as of 5-7 years ago, we were told, as marketers, Mondays and Fridays were death days for emails. You never, ever send emails. That's obviously shifting, I think, as how we as a society work now. I know personally, by the time Friday rolls around, that's kind of my catch-up day. I do have time to really engage more with emails that I get. So make sure you're testing your emails, especially if you're sending more than 1 or so a week. And then just as a side note, make sure you're adhering to all canned spam laws, which I'm sure you all are. If someone wants to opt out, give them an opportunity to opt out and make sure you're suppressing them. And kind of going back to the number of emails you send a week, if you are sending multiple email, make sure you vary them out. You vary them on what you're sending to your audience, because they can do many things. They can be transactional. They can say, we have this new course offering, come to our website to enroll. If you have a promotion, a flash sale, or a discount happening, kind of vary out what you're sending. And then informational, and this one's really important. If you are sending more than 1 or 2 emails a week, make sure one of them is like a content related email. If you're invested in content, or perhaps those webinars, if you want to, engage with webinars.
Yeah, I think the key here is you can't just keep hammering them with the same hammer. It's got to vary, because you really want to hit them with the information they need when they need it, right? And meet them where they are. And we all know during the week we have different needs, and all of a sudden you're going through like, oh, like I just went on a bicycle trip, and I come back and I'm out of tires, right? I blew through a bunch of different tires, and I got a promotion from one of these companies that sends me 3 a week, and it says, oh, there's a sale on tires. And I'm like, yeah, baby, that's what just because I need it right now. But there they were. They had the information. It was really a promotional piece, but making sure you vary it, correct?
Yep, and vary it, and it's a fine line of hitting the person at the right time with the right offer and the right message. Yeah. So that's just, again, why it's important to vary it up. and make sure you're looking at your opt-out rates and your engagement rates, and you're looking at your statistics of your emails. That'll help you kind of plan moving forward. And as I talked about earlier, the most important part of any email is the subject line. If you haven't engaged with, there's a lot of subject line analyzers out there now. Like I use one called CoScheduler. It's where you can put in your subject line and it will kind of give you a score based on words that work really well in subject lines, ones that don't, and you can kind of use that to gauge how well your subject line might do, or maybe test a couple different ones through an A/B test. Email is a really great and easy place to do A/B testing as well. Split your list in half, pick one thing, don't pick multiple things, and send half one, half the other. And
see how it does, right?
Yeah.
A/B test.
Yeah.
And just keep doing it till you hone in on what your client base likes, what's effective.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
Right
you never know what's going to make a difference.
Right on.
When you're sending out creative. And the last quick hit here is organic social media. Now, this is not your paid social media, your sponsored ads. We talked about that last month, but this is just what you're putting in your feed on your social media platforms, whichever ones you utilize. Another great survey that I've found of why social media has become more important, definitely recently, is 3/4 of consumers, this was a pretty big cohort as well, rely on social media to guide purchasing decisions. I don't know about you, but I know if you see a new product or a new company or something, I'll go to their social media page. I'll see what they're posting there, kind of what they're offering to find out more. So it has become a more important piece of that marketing funnel and one of those marketing contacts that you need to consider and keep on top of. As I noted there, organic social media is great for brand awareness, helps you build trust and interact with students. And again, if your school being state specific, you can really use that to your advantage to help stand out against national competitors. Someone who's operating in all 50 states can't, call out something specific that's happening in Florida that might be really relevant to a student coming to your social media page, whereas you are going to have, your hand on the pulse there. So use this channel to stand out against national competitors as well. And just like emails, your social media can do many things too. These are just some examples of different platforms, but you can use your social media to promote your offerings or promotion. Use them for testimonials. Testimonial Tuesday is really big now. Or student success stories. And then make sure you're putting your content out on your social media feeds as well. If you have videos or content pieces that you've put together, this is another channel you should be using to put that information out. And just as a general rule across most social media platforms is the rule of thirds of what you want to post. You want to do 1/3 of your posts of marketing, 1/3 of those content, and then 1/3 of the personal stories, those testimonials, student success stories, things like that.
Beautiful. I got a quick thing. So everybody, what we've gone through here, right, especially even social media, if you look at all the things we've covered, there's only one of them that actually has costs involved, and that's direct mail, right? Other time, the only costs involved are time. It's your time, which is a cost, right? You need to account for that. Or it's somebody you hire to do these things. But these are really efficient ways of marketing without a lot of money. And it allows you to control the messaging also through social media, through your email, right? Even your direct contact with decision makers in your marketplace. You control the message. You control the value proposition. You control all of those things. So being really good at marketing without spending a lot of money is key, because all of these things, and you're delivering your product properly, where people are actually realizing a value of coming to your school, which gets to the most valuable marketing in the world, which is word of mouth, right? And when it comes to word of mouth, what you find is as you're crafting all of this messaging through your social media, through your emails, right, how you talk about you and what your value is, that's kind of preparing your students, right, and your partners and how they're going to talk about you publicly. And so make sure that everything is lining up and you're supporting that message. So it's easy when somebody says, gosh, you went to so-and-so, what'd you think of it? Oh, I thought it was an excellent experience. Here's why. They did this, they did this, they did this. They should be pulling that from your messaging coming through, everything that they've seen from you. Help them talk about the value that they found at your organization. Sarah,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, these are all going to create those 5-day contact moments that a prospect needs to work through that marketing funnel. And then just as a quick final word, because I wouldn't be a marketer if I didn't talk about measuring a campaign, make sure you are measuring your campaigns. You're looking at your analytics. If you are not using your Google Analytics on the back end to see how your website is doing and setting up your UTM parameters for all of your links to track how your campaigns are doing, you're missing out on a lot of really valuable information. So set your goals for your campaigns, make sure you can measure them, you have the metrics available to track. Analyze the data. Did you meet your goal? Or your goal could even be just setting a baseline. I'm going to send this one email out there. I'm going to see what I get, and then I'm going to optimize it and run it again and do that testing that I talked about. So make sure you're really looking at all of this information on the back end, because it does no good if you just put something out there, but you don't know how it's performing and you can't improve upon it. Because as I think I said earlier, you can always improve upon it. It could be a button color. It could be the wording on a button that makes a really big difference in your marketing.
Awesome. Sarah, I know we're at the end of it. Everybody, I'm going to ask you one more question, everybody who's on here. So Sarah, thank you for being here.